We'll call to order the City of Douglasville's City Council regular meeting for tonight, which is November the 15th. Our invocation will be done by the Pastor Gene Fields of One Church. After that, we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by the Mayor Pro Tem Councilmember Terry Miller. Please stand for the invocation.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, first of all, it is an honor and a privilege to be able to come before you in this setting, Father. Father, we don't take coming before you lightly at all. And Father, we invite you into this room. Father, we invite your wisdom, Father, and we invite your heart and your eyes as, Father, the decisions and thoughts and things that will go on in this room will affect many people, Father. And your word tells us that you love people. And Father, we thank you for that. Your word also tells us often, Father, that we are to praise you with thanksgiving. And Father, in this season of Thanksgiving, we do praise you and thank you for all the things that you give us, Father. And one of those blessings is this community and being able to be a part of that. And Father, I just acknowledge the thankfulness that I have to be here. Father, I pray tonight for our city council and our mayor. Father, bless them. And Father, I just am always in these moments reminded of those first responders in our community, Father, that literally put their lives on the line every night for our community. And I just ask protection over them. Father, again, we love you and thank you for loving us in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem, for leading us in the pledge. And Pastor Fields, we appreciate your prayer of invocation. We will go through the protocol of how the meeting will be handled this evening, and then we'll get into the agenda, which is printed outside for paper agendas, and or there is one above us that you can see on the screen. I would like to welcome you to the City of Douglasville's regular City Council meeting. My name is Rochelle Robinson. I'm Mayor of the City of Douglasville. This is a council meeting where agenda items were discussed last Thursday, and official action will be taken on those items this evening. If the business you're here for is not listed as an agenda item, there will be ample time under the agenda item comments from citizens and delegates. If you have any concerns or questions, you can come forward at that time. Please give us your name and address for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes to speak to us on any information or business that pertains to the City of Douglasville or potential business for the City of Douglasville. Just a few protocol issues, and then we'll get into the meeting. I ask that you would please keep your comments and presentations on a professional level, dealing with the facts that are important for this governing body to make our decisions. We will not accept comments that are considered by the chair to be of a personal attack. If you do that, you'll receive a warning the first time. The second time, you'll be discontinued in speaking. We'll turn your microphone off. Only one person speaking at a time, please. Please do not applaud or react to speakers. Speak from the audience, cheer, or be disruptive. Carry on conversations with the audience. Just please speak to the committee chairperson. I remind you that we're only required to accept public comments on zoning matters. And if you have a cell phone or any electronic device, we'll ask that you please put those in silent mode or turn those off until after the meeting so that they will not be disruptive. Now, the agenda items will be handled as the following. The committee chairperson will read their agenda item. Then that person or representative will come forward and present at that time. Please come forward at this time with new information that was not covered on last Thursday. You do not have to repeat the information at that time. Myself and council members will ask if you bring new information forward or if you're doing a review and we ask questions from last Thursday that we didn't ask then and we want to ask now, we can do that at that time. After that, committee chairperson will ask for comments or statements from the audience. There's a maximum of 20 minutes for and 20 minutes in opposition. Each person has 5 minutes. Prior to approaching the podium, please give us your card that you should have filled out on the desk outside if you want to speak, and hand that speaker card in to Ms. Vicki Acker, our city clerk, with the white blouse on. Prior to approaching the podium, give us your name and address. Again, each person has one opportunity. This is not a question and answer or debate format. We're just here to to be in a listening posture to get your information and then make a decision on that information that we receive. Our policy requires if you have printed materials that you would please hand those to the city clerk. Now, that's a whole lot of information. Hopefully, everyone's on the same page. And now we will continue with the agenda the way it is printed. We'll move on to our announcements and presentations, which we don't have any. And now we're going to the minutes. And I will open the floor for a motion to approve the minutes of the legislative work session of October 28th, 2021, and the regular meeting of November 1st, 2021. I open the floor for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Bless you. Thank you so much, Councilman Davis. Have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much. Mayor Pro Tem, it's been properly moved and second to approve the minutes from the work session of October 28th and the regular meeting of November 1st, 2021. Do we have any comments or questions from council members? Anyone see any deletions or corrections to the minutes? I don't see any. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Item 21-537 for the minutes this unanimously approved. So now we'll move on to the consent agenda. Okay, the thing is printing up. Okay, I open the floor for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Councilman Davis. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. It's been properly moved in second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Do we have any questions or comments from the council members as it relates to the consent agenda? Good. I don't see any. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The consent agenda is unanimously approved. We'll move on then to the next committee, which is Economic Development Committee. That's chaired by Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business under the Economic Development Committee at this time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. We'll move then to the Finance Committee. The Vice Chair is Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have
Welcome.
one item tonight. To adopt a resolution to authorize the mayor to sign the First Amendment to Tax Incentives Agreement with Microsoft Corporation, the Development Authority of the City of Douglasville, the Douglas County Board of Assessors, and the Douglas County Tax Commissioner. Ms. Woodward.
Thank you, Chairman Watts. Mayor and Council, tonight we have Chris Pumphrey with us. On the legal side, I don't have anything to add, but I'm sure Mr. Pumphrey would have more information about the expansion of the project itself. Thank you.
Good evening. Chris Pumphrey, City of Douglasville Development Authority, 8512 Bowden Street. If you recall, a year ago, we approved a property tax incentives plan for Microsoft in their data center here in Douglasville. That agreement was for Microsoft's acquisition of 67 acres to develop a 250,000 square foot data center facility. And I think we talked about before, there were plans to expand that, for a second phase, but that was all on that 67 acres. After we concluded that, not too long afterwards, Microsoft felt that it was probably in their best interest to acquire a 95-acre parcel, which was adjacent to the 67-acre parcel. This 95-acre parcel was a parcel that Rooker had been focused on to develop a 1 million square foot distribution center. They had gone through all the environmental necessities for that site. Microsoft eventually purchased that property from Rooker to be adjacent to the 67 acres. Subsequently, they started working through their development plan and determined that it was best for them to start development on the 95 acres instead of the 67 acres. We alerted them that we did not have an agreement on the 95 acres. We only had an agreement on the 67. So in order to keep the agreement the same, not to replicate the plan for them, we discussed combining both parcels into one and then applying the $400 million property tax incentive on that now combined 160 or thereabout acres in Riverside West. Microsoft's vision is that they develop 4 250,000 square foot facilities, which means that they're developing upwards of 1 million square feet of data center space here in Douglasville. We came to an agreement that was a 15-year pilot, a fixed pilot schedule over a 15-year period, where they would pay $14 million in taxes over that 15-year period on the first 250,000 square foot building. So basically what we're coming before you is approved at the City of Douglasville Development Authority Board, was basically to include the 95 acres into the existing plan. We're not changing the terms. We're not increasing the amount of investment that they can make into the plan. All the terms are still the same, and it's still only on the first 250,000 square foot building. If they do want to do an expansion in the future, then they would have to come back to the City of Douglasville Development Authority Board and then subsequently come back to you all. So we're just simply adding 95 acres to the existing plan without changing the terms.
Well, okay. Yes, ma'am.
I
Madam
do
Mayor.
have a question. Thank you, Mr. Pumphrey. It's good to see you.
You as well?
Mr. Dotson, something sounds, I mean, if we're adding 95 acres, why aren't we expanding the contract to reflect the additional acreage? Or unless I'm missing something. I know you explained it, but
Yeah. Great question. It was the reason why it took us a minute to kind of come before you, because we were trying to better understand it ourselves. Was that it was a very interesting negotiation, to say the least, when we went through this last year. But what we wanted to do, is you wanted to incentivize the first in, right?
Okay.
And so that's what we did. But what we did not want to do is basically say you can get this for all the other 3 phases that you're going to do on the project. So the likelihood of if they do come back, that they would then have to apply for a new incentive, indeed, but we weren't guaranteeing that incentive for the future things. And so I had the same question. If you have 67 acres and you add 95, you're in essence kind of eating into the bond cap. And they said, we understand, we will leave it at that bond cap. And so that's what we had to kind of work through to make sure that we were not agreeing to incentivize the future phases, that we were still only agreeing to do the first.
so that's when you're saying the first 250,000 square feet building is going to, so it won't impact that latter part of the 95 acres that were added on.
Correct. So the
Okay.
95 acres will be a part of one parcel. I think you will have a few other, like in a variance hearing that may be coming up, that they'll be applying for a variance, and they're applying for it as one parcel. And so it made more sense to just do everything under that same parcel.
Okay, I don't totally understand.
Sorry.
Okay.
As long as the bond cap doesn't move, you're fine.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Thanks, Chris.
Any other? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was informed by one of the staff members on Elevate Douglas, that just to kind of put things in perspective, because we hear a lot of people complaining, well, we're giving tax incentives to so many companies out there. And I believe the total number of incentives was like 9, I think. Is that accurate?
Yeah, 9 or 10.
Not yet.
Of
So
about
it's-
5,000 businesses, it's about 10.
Yeah, less than a dozen, fewer than a dozen
Correct.
companies have received incentives. So that's, not exactly giving away the store.
Yeah, I mean, I would say one of the projects that we did work on is right next to this was McMaster Carr. It's a $106 million investment that we, helped bring here, but there are 0 property tax abatements on that project. That's a
think-
fully taxable asset.
That puts things in perspective. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other council members with a question or comment? All right, thank you, Mr. Humphries.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to approve item 21-521.
Thank you so much. Councilman Watts, we have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much, Councilman Davis. It's been properly moved by Vice Chair Councilmember Chris Watts and second by Councilmember Samuel Davis to approve item 21-521. Do we have any additional comments or questions from council members? I don't see any. All those in favor of approving this item, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 21-521 is unanimously approved.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's all we had tonight under finance.
Thank you so much, Councilman Watts. We'll move on then to Housing and Community Affairs Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Danley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee, chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
At this time, no business tonight, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Councilman Davis. Personnel and Organization Committee, chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight in Personnel and Organization.
Thank you so much, Coach. We'll move on then to Planning and Development Committee. The Vice Chair is Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Verdanley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're
We
welcome.
have several items tonight.
Mhm.
And the first item is item number 21-53, item number 21-515. Mr. Anderson, am I reading?
That's the wrong
Okay, my
one.
printed one has the wrong one.
You have to,
Wrong one.
you have to do a motion.
And we have to remove it from the table.
Okay, so, right, so I'd like to make a motion to remove item 21-543.
Thank you so much. I have a motion and second by Councilmember Davis. Oh, I apologize.
That's right. Can we have a clarification on the number, because mine screen says item 506?
Oh, it does?
It's, yes, item 21-506 and then item number 21-543.
Let me see, so the,
Which one is the
Correct
correct
number?
one?
right,
So that's the one.
City Manager.
yeah, because item B has,
Your removal from the table is one motion that relates to an item, but you're removing item 506 from the table.
But that's what, hers was different.
yeah, mine says,
No, it says 506 right
right. Okay. So let me reread this.
Okay.
I make a motion to remove from the table item 21-506.
Thank you so much. I have a motion to remove 21-506 from the table. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much, Councilman Davis. All those in favor of removing from the table item A, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome.
Item B, tabled from November 1st, 2021, consider a request for approval of a development plan for Maxim Road Package Store for 1.6718 acres at 800 Maxim Road, located in Land Lot 522, District 18, Section 2, Partial 3, for plans dated September 7th, 2021. Application by Mr. A. Patel. Mr. Anderson.
Ryan Anderson, 6701 Church Street. Staff does not have any new information in regards to this item.
Okay. Do we have any comments from our mayor or council members?
No.
Okay, if not, Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve item 21-506.
Second.
Thank you so much. It's been properly moved and second to approve item 21-506. All those in favor of approving this item, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 21-506 is unanimously approved.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Item C is motion to remove from the table item 21-507.
Thank you. I have a motion to remove from the table item C. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Thank you so much, Councilman Davis. It's been properly moved and second to remove from the table item 21-506, which is item C. Do we have any additional comments or questions from council members? Thank you. I don't see any. All those in favor of removing this item from the table, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Item D, pop-ups. Tabled from November 1st, 2021, consider a request for revised final plat approval for Chicago Park Phase 4 for the purpose of adding lots 121 through 133 for 40.59 acres in Chicago Avenue and Land Lot 224, District 2, Section 5, Parcels 2 and 15, applications by AMH Development, care of Addison Blakesley. Mr. Anderson.
Ryan Anderson, 6701 Church Street. Staff does not have any new information in regards to this item.
Thank you. I see that our developer builder is here, if you'll come forward. Thank you. And if you'll please, thank you so much for coming again tonight. Can you please state your name and your address for the record?
Yes, ma'am. Chad Swaim, 1029 Chastity Point, Dawsonville, Georgia.
Okay, thank you. So I understand just from our conversation, thank you, I'm glad that we had a chance to speak a little bit before now. Can you just give us some updates on the progress that you've made thus far?
Yes, ma'am. So as previously stated, the management company that was currently managing the property, that we have terminated their contract and terminated them on last Friday, and we have hired a new management company that will be taking over the property. This management company does properties for us that have been challenged before. They work well with the city police department to help clean up some of the issues that we have at Chicago Park. We are also trying to get a meeting scheduled and room at the library for December 20th to do an annual meeting with the residents to introduce them to the new property management and hopefully get this project and get this subdivision back on track.
Okay, great. And Ms. Ebony, can you please come forward? I understand that you were there today, and with code enforcement, the issues that we have concerns about are in reference to code enforcement issues that have not been, that were not taken care of. And then since then, I've received information from residents just today in regards to items just still related to code enforcement. So your progress status report?
Well, good evening, Ebony Jefferson, 6701 Church Street. I did have an opportunity to meet with WSA on today. We were able to, regarding the detention pond, they went out and they inspected the detention pond. Mr. Swain's assistant, Mr. Chris, was there, as well as other staff was present. Once they get a clear view as to where they're going to start, they will begin clearing that area out. So we are making progress as it relates to the detention pond, which is one of the main concerns. Also, as it relates to the code compliance, things that we had, Mr. Swain is going to provide his own landscaping company to come and clean up all of the common areas, which is independent of the HOA. So they're not going to go through the current HOA. He's going to provide his own services. Those things should be cleaned up by the end of the week.
Okay, great. So if you'll come back up, that is good progress. That's great to hear that there's progress being made. And as I stated to you earlier, is, you know, as a city, our responsibility is to make sure that we enforce our ordinances and that I make sure our taxpayers are also receiving information and given proper due diligence of what they need in different faucets. The other concern in regards to the pool, I think you mentioned, we talked a little bit about safety measures. That wasn't mentioned. And what are you going to do in regards to that?
So that's what this management company is very good at, and they're challenged with, and that was part of the discussion when we had with them, is their intent is to return the pool back to the residents, to work with the city police department, and they've got other measures that they can put in place, and we're giving them full opportunity to do so, to take back over the pool area. And just so that the council members understand, you know, we took over this project several years ago. The property was, you know, in a distressed property as far as the phase 4 that we have developed. The entrance was in really bad shape. The large trees were overgrown. You could almost rub them on your car going through. The monument was covered up with, you know, shrubs and bushes and overgrown. Columns and fencing were breaking and falling over. So we didn't use HOA money. We used our own money to enhance the entrance, to clean up around the monument. We painted all the columns, fixed them, limbed up all the trees. Like, did a lot of really good, you know, improvements to the entrance on our dime. We thought we had the pool area with all the police. 2 years ago, we had the police there to try to enhance it. But like I said, our property management company that was on staff at the time just really didn't do a very good job in these last several months. And the residents have every reason to complain. And now that we have, you know, sadly, we get light of it now, right? So that property management company is no longer in charge. So we've got a new property management company that we expect not only for the residents that live there, but for our sake and the place has to look great, right? So it benefits all.
Right. And you mentioned earlier in our conversation that your company actually only has how many homes in the subdivision?
So only of the first 3 phases, we have 8 rental properties within the first 3 phases. 95 lots are in the develop phase. So one of the issues, the 2 main issues that are happening within the previous 3 phases are, one, the pool area. That's just been, it's right there at the entrance. It's easily accessible from Chicago Avenue, and it's been taken over by non-residents, right? And that's an issue. We're going to clean that up. Second thing is the rental properties that are private, that are not owned by us, that are, within the community. Those properties, like I learned this past 2 weeks, they're not being held to the right standard. And that standard needs to be higher. And that's what this new property management company is going to do. So I think I've heard some like riding 4-wheelers around and not keeping up. So that's going to change.
So I mentioned to you earlier you don't know, this was the first time that I've met you when you put
Yes,
your
ma'am.
application in. So you inherited a lot of issues with this subdivision, such as my colleague and myself prior to our tenure. But, that just comes with the territory.
Yes, ma'am.
You just, we deal with it and we move forward. I really would like to see, and this has nothing to do with your application as far as being a business owner, because I do want to see you succeed as a business owner. It is very difficult for me to, your word, I believe you. And I hear the progress that you have made as far as hiring a new property manager and making sure safety and, the things that the company has done in their own pocket. I would like to see some action, like really boots on the ground, seeing that done. I think for the residents, what they've said to me is, you hear this a lot. You can't go back and change what happened prior to, but you are making progress now. In my opinion, I think it would be appropriate that the residents meet the property manager that you have that's going to take care, and we're talking of the issues that we're staying in line with code enforcement, that we can enforce. We can't go into detail about all the civil stuff that's going on between the property owners and things like that.
Yes,
I would
ma'am.
really like to see, the residents meet prior to December 20th. Of course, you may not have any control over that. I'm going to yield my comments for now and just let the mayor and council ask any questions or comments before we move forward. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Thank you again for
Yes,
coming
ma'am.
back in. I know you've been in several times. We appreciate you being willing to speak with us. I did have a couple of questions. The HOA it lies with your company, correct?
So I know that's a little bit of confusion. So the HOA is established for Chicago Park, but the declarant rights are still held with my company, correct? And the declarant rights are basically the ability to, I forget the right term, but change the covenants, right? Add or delete from the bylaws. As part of the declarant, yes, we have a management company. So the management company would be in place whether we were the declarant or not.
Yes, sir.
Even if we had given up declarant rights to the
agent.
residents, they would still, like, these issues and problems would still be there, right?
Right.
Ultimately, since we're the declarant, we have the authority to hire or fire or make changes, right? And so that's where they're looking to us to do that, and that's what we're doing.
Okay, so Mr. Blakesley, so you've hired a new management company. They're going
Yes,
to
ma'am.
meet with the residents on the 20th of December. And I was wondering, those rental properties, are there HOA fees baked into their monthly rent? Because there was a concern, and this is a sidebar issue, but I had a lot of issues that were written down, that some of those resources that the people that were residents were paying, they weren't renters, these are owners, that their HOA fees were going to clean up other properties. And
So
so,
the
do
properties
they
that
have
they had
HOAs baked into their rental
Yes, their
fee?
HOA fees are baked in, and we mow our own lots. As far as
Okay.
our properties, we take care of all the lawn maintenance and all the exterior maintenance of the properties. The properties in question, there are 2 vacant lots within the existing 3 phases of the community, and those are owned by another individual.
Okay,
And so part of the budget that has been established for the past 3 years does have a line item within the budget to maintain vacant lots.
Of course.
So typically what happens is you can contact the individual just as if it were a typical homeowner, right? If it was a different homeowner there, and you can send out notices, you can
Right.
send out threatening whatever to get them to mow their grass, or you can just mow it, right?
Right,
And so
and
that's
then
what that money's there for, and it is part of the budget. So
Okay.
it's not like we're taking from another bucket to do that, but we do have to mow the lots as far as code enforcement is concerned as well.
Yes, sir.
So you see that's very typical within a lot of HOA budgets if they have that type of situation.
Oh, understood. You want to have teeth into your HOA recommendations so that if there
Right.
is a dilapidated property or someone not cutting their grass to, keep the integrity of the entire neighborhood, you want to keep everything up to par.
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay, so that answers my question about that. And you were saying that there were some other privately rented out properties that was not under the auspice of your umbrella
Correct.
for your company, and they were not meeting the standard. So, but the management company will take care of everyone, whether you're renting, owning, letting your kids live in the property, or anything like that.
But do understand that there are legal
Yes.
avenues and procedures in which you have to handle certain situations. Whether
Definitely.
it be even a foreclosure, right? If you had a property that maybe somebody moved out of.
Right.
And it was under foreclosure, we can only do so much, right? And the property can become an eyesore. They can dump all their stuff on the street. So there's multiple things that have to go enforced. The difference is whether or not the property management company at the time is willing to put their face in it and get after it and help do what they're supposed to do, right?
Yes,
Instead of
sir.
ignoring it or just sending the blank letter, which we've all heard, that doesn't
Doesn't
go
really
anywhere.
get their
You know,
attention.
How do you get results, right? And so
Yeah.
that's what this property company, we intend to do with this one.
Okay, now, in the meeting on the 20th, is there going to be a schedule? This is just my recommendation, like we have a city council schedule for the year. Because some of the residents said they only had one meeting, even if it's a Zoom, if it could be a quarterly or something, just more frequent so that they'll have, know that they're being communicated to and can reach out and have comments and dialogue.
Yes, ma'am. And so just to be clear, the meeting is we're trying to schedule a meeting on the 20th. We need to reserve the library for that. So it's
Okay.
not in stone yet, but that's the date that
Yes.
we've set. And it's an annual meeting, and it does have an agenda, so that we go through the budget, go through line items, and then have questions and answers at the end.
Okay.
But also understand there's a lot of, in these communities, there's things that are brought up at the meetings that really have nothing to do with the HOA, or they're civil matters themselves, right? Whether it be a dog barking or things of that nature. So
Right.
we do have to manage that process as well. Otherwise, it's not very productive.
Right. So will it be more than, it's an annual meeting? You don't have biannual or quarterly? Because that might be why they last
Not
until
typically, but if
Christmas.
that's something, if they would like and express interest in it, but it still has to be somewhat of a majority. If there's 2 or 3
Yeah.
of the overall that want a quarterly, that, they can always submit questions to us or call personally. And, I have I give them out my cell phone number to multiple residents during the development, so I'm not hiding from anyone, so.
Okay, and just my last comment, thank you, Madam Vice Chair, is the chief and I was trying to remember, and I remember when he and I, and the team, we walked through with DCOPS program years, I don't remember, about 4 years ago, we were starting that. And cameras were requested, but it's private property. Do you have cameras, especially in that pool area where there was a huge concern about, people renting that area out or parties and they weren't residents of Chicago
Correct, so
Park?
there are cameras there, and a camera was fixed, but we're diving more into what's going on there, because like we had heard, they record, but they record over, which isn't very helpful.
Right.
So typically, cameras being installed are more of a deterrent, if that makes sense, by advertising that you have cameras, security cameras. The intent is so that people will not do what they want to, right, because they feel like they're being watched. But now it seems like we're going to have to utilize them more as a screening protocol. And so we'll look into that. And I think our property management company, I'm not sure if you know who she is, I'm sure you probably do, but she said she had worked with the city before
Okay.
on other properties. I'm going to let her handle that process, right, on how that works.
Okay, just more cameras. Not that you're feeling like Big Brother's watching you, but just for protection of the
No,
residents.
but utilize them in a different way, if
Yes,
that makes
sir.
sense.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you responding to my concerns.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Any other comments?
Yes,
Councilman Davis?
yes, thank you again. My only comment, I want the residents to be happy. I don't want them to put the houses up for sale and move. And I've talked with several of them, of the residents, and right now they're unhappy. So I'd like to see you all come together and find some kind of common grounds and make this thing work.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Other comments? Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Chair. think we're all appreciative of the fact that you recognize that there's a problem and you're addressing it. It seems, though, it appears, at least certainly from a number of residents in your development, that the track record is a bit sketchy over the last number of years. And now that you are bringing in a new management company, I guess we're being asked to take on faith that there will be improvements. So I guess I'm very much in the same mindset as Madam Chair, is that, trust but verify, essentially. And I guess it would also be helpful for us to know about the track record of the management company that you are bringing in. So we, like, probably, I think, at least I would like to know what their record, how they've performed at other properties throughout the metro area. Have they been well taken care of? They've been responsive to residents' requests and so forth. I think it would be very enlightening to us to know a little bit more about them, and without getting into the weeds or anything like that, but know something about the track record of who's coming in and whether this is going to be satisfactory to the residents. That's all, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Any other council members? No? All right, so I have a question I'd like to direct to legal. And like I said earlier, we definitely, at least for me, and I do believe the mayor and council want to see you succeed by all means. My question, Ms. Woodward, is if this item is tabled at this point, how is it, what are we in still a good place to table it? And if so, how many times, or is this it? Just kind of give me some information.
We cannot table it more than twice, and it has to be within 45 days. Mr. Anderson might know the dates number better than I do.
Mr. Anderson, did you want to make a comment?
It was tabled on November the 1st, but previously before that, I'm thinking it was sometime in October. So it would have to be approved in December, at the December, I think 8 meeting. Yeah, it would have to be approved at that meeting or
Approved or
voted down.
denied?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So it would be within 45 days. But I really need to count down, to research it, to make sure that it's still within 45 days. I don't want to just say it is and then it's not. So I would need to go back to the office and count back. So.
Madam Chair, what I would recommend, because we are at a time-sensitive time, that you allow Mr. Anderson to go back to get that exact information. The other I would add is if you're seeking to have a result of the meeting on the 20th, I doubt you will have time to do that. So you may not get the answers that you seek in time to table the meeting. So if you would allow Mr. Anderson some time to get that, get that information, so he can have the exact date.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, and let's make sure we're we have clarity on what these dates mean. If you said
Right.
45 days, does that mean that that's a window within which an approval or disapproval has to occur, with two tablings occurring, or is it the 45 days represent the maximum parameter within which you can table? So that's what I would like to have clarified.
I will have to look that up, but I do know we cannot delay it for very long.
Okay. I think, yeah, as long as we have some clarity on what that 45 days means, because we don't want to get in a situation like we had with another project.
I believe, we'll check this, I believe the 45 days refers to the length of time something can be tabled. You can table it twice, but not over 45 days.
Within each time?
And the clock starts ticking.
Each table can be 45 days, or the
No,
total?
you got
everything.
two tables in a
Within
45
45
day period.
Okay,
That's what I
that's-
think it means.
And then our next meetings are December 2nd and 6th, the 16th and 20th. And then we don't have any until the first of the year.
Right. Councilman Watts?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. So our purpose in tabling it is to hopefully see some of the issues we feel like need to be taken care of on behalf of the citizens. So to Ms. Hampton's point a second ago, within our time frame, would we be able to get those answers?
Well, I guess we need to ask you. Our next council meeting is December the 2nd and December
6th.
So obviously, we know that you've scheduled to have a meeting with your residents on the 20th, so we know that we're not going to see that on the 20th. What can be done prior to the 20th,
So-
such as safety, or, tell me.
I mean, safety's a hard part, but it takes a while to run people off that come, they don't come every night, the same person. I mean, the pool area it's gonna take a while to get that secured. It's not gonna happen in one day. I mean, you've got people that come there from different places all the time. They're not just like they show up every Thursday and we can stop it. It's something where they have to routinely learn that that is not the place to show up. And that could take up to 6 months. As far as the cleanup, I've got my personal landscaper that works for our company, not through the HOA budget, is going to come clean up the pool area, re-clean up the entrance where the previous management was not basically watching their landscaper to make sure that they were doing the job correctly as we go through the transition to the new property management and the new landscape company. But I do have one question. As far as the plat itself is concerned, we have met all the requirements subjugated to the plat as far as what we've done in the field, what we've done as far as issuing bonds and getting sign-offs. Everything in regards to the legal part of this plat have been satisfied. This is a civil matter between the HOA and the developer that doesn't have any legal bearing on the denial or approval of this plat. You would think if you were going to deny the plat, it would be because there was something missing or something that was misleading in regards to the property itself from a legal standpoint, and there was nothing there. I don't really see how you can deny or table accepting this plat based on what we're trying to do with our tenants, our residents, and our management company.
Well, when you were first here initially, we talked about, Ms. Hampton made a comment, these were not her words verbatim, but there's a difference between civil and code enforcement. And that is what I reiterated to you earlier when we were speaking. As far as the mayor and council, we're not getting into any of the civil issues. As far as safety and things being cleaned up, the detention pond, those areas are code enforcement. It's unfortunate that we did not have a chance to hash all this out before the development was even built, period. And what we've learned, and what I've learned as a council member, is when we have builders, and we've come through some tough times, is that we catch stuff on the front end. We haven't been able to do this, but with the residents that live there and with you. However, this time, as leaders and the responsibility that we owe to our residents that pay taxes is to make sure that areas are taken care of. I would like to see some action, period, whether that be, because you said you don't have a property manager currently. So if you don't have a property management, who would the residents contact? You, correct?
Yes,
So between now and December 20th, if there was a complaint, who would the residents contact?
Well, there'll be a letter that goes out announcing the new management company. As far as the meeting, it'll be on the 20th. They're already getting the names from the previous management company to send out the announcement letter and to let them know that we have changed over management company, so they'll have someone to contact.
But if there were complaints today or tomorrow?
They could contact me, yes.
They would contact you.
Mhm.
So my question to you is, why can't you meet with them and discuss what we've talked about?
I'm not the property manager. I'm
But you're the
land
owner.
developer. I'm not the owner. I work for the company.
Work for the company. Well, then why can't someone from the company meet with the residents and talk about what we're talking about?
So typically what that means is if I meet with them, I'm going to be passing that information on to the property manager later. We hire the property management company to manage the property. I understand what you want me to do, but that's not the proper process on how you manage properties. I mean, the developer doesn't manage the property. I don't do that on a daily basis. That's not really what I do. And also, if I can go back to the code enforcement.
Sure.
It's not as if code enforcement had notified us 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago of an issue that we ignored.
Had not? You
Had
said
not, no.
no one has contacted you?
Not from a code enforcement standpoint at all. It was only brought up at that first meeting.
But I
So
think-
again, you're gonna table and hold a property based on a code enforcement issue that we were unaware of, and we met immediately with them to take care of it. So
But the
I feel like
problem,
it's kind of,
well, the problem too is that you stated that your property management company were not doing what they were supposed to do. So
Correct.
the residents are stating that they contacted the property management, which was not you.
Correct.
So you had no idea that the issues were at hand.
We thought the issues were being handled by that previous property management company, which they were not.
Right.
We learned that this meeting. I spoke with most of the residents that were here, because we're on their side. We're not against the residents. I hope you understand that. So we immediately took action. We didn't make excuses. We immediately took action and got rid of that management company that was not delivering, to bring in a new management company to help the residents and us.
Right.
It benefits us, as we're on the same side with the residents.
Right.
I hope you don't feel, I feel like you're painting me in a picture as that we are against the residents, and we are not. We are
nothing.
one and the same. We are a resident. We are an owner of the community, just like the other owners.
I understand.
So we're no different.
I understand, and it's definitely not personal
Yes,
at all.
ma'am.
Ms. Hampton, how much time does Ryan need?
I'm not quite, do you have the dates, or your exact?
It was tabled on November the 1st, so it happened until December 16th.
Okay. So, did you have any?
Oh, I was going to
comment?
say to recess, I want to recess the item until the end of the meeting to give Mr. Anderson an opportunity to do the background research, but it seems like he's already gotten it.
I would actually encourage legal to confer with Mr. Anderson as well before you all take any action on this item to make a recommendation. So, Madam Mayor, I would agree with your
Recess.
recommendation to just pause on this and go to another item until we can come back, until legal has conferred and given
Sure.
him a good response.
That's okay? Yes, thank you.
Okay.
All right, so I would like to recess this item.
That's fine. We'll come back to it at the end of the meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, item E is consider a petition to annex 13.83 acres at Van Sant Road in Land Lot 902, District 18, Section 2, Partial 18, application by SA Land Group in care of Adam Baker. Okay.
Mr. Baker, come forward.
Ryan Anderson, 6701 Church Street. We don't have any additional information as regards to the annexation.
Okay. All right. Mr. Anderson, do you have any comments, Mr. Anderson? I'm sorry. Mr. Baker, do you have any comments at this time? If you will state your name and address for the record.
Adam Baker, SA Land Group, 95 Miller Farm Road, Taylorsville, Georgia, 30178. I don't necessarily have a comment at this time, although I would love to be able to have the opportunity to address any questions or concerns you guys may have as a council. Is that okay? That we'll have the
Sure.
opportunity?
Absolutely. you will
Perfect.
have
Thank
that.
you so much.
Yes. Do we have any comments or questions?
No, ma'am, this is just an annexation at this
Yes,
point,
ma'am.
correct? Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem, did you say you have it?
No, yeah,
Okay.
I'll wait till the
Okay.
the follow-up.
All right, so I would like to make a motion that we approve item 21-509.
Thank you so much, Madam Vice Chair. I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much, Councilman Davis. It's been properly moved and second to approve item 21-509 from the Vice Chair, Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Danley, and second by Councilmember Samuel Davis. Do we have any comments or questions as it relates to this item from the council members? Yes, sir.
Yes.
Councilman Watts?
Madam Mayor, I know annexation is separate, but I know that the next item will be the public hearing and the change of zoning.
Yes,
And I
sir.
know that there's potentially some things that, some requests or a list of things that may be a part of that. So I guess I struggle with annexation prior to knowing. Anyway, that's my.
You're saying the cart
I'm
before the
sorry.
horse, so you want to.
Well, no, I'm not trying, I just, I guess that's just in my own head. I'll have to deal with that myself.
It does seem bad.
It's
Do
the oven and
you-
the cake issue.
I know.
Dessert first.
You want us to switch them around?
No,
Put
I'm not
E at the
advocating
bottom
that.
of
I
G,
just-
or?
Okay,
Okay,
All right.
I understand what you're saying.
so I made the motion that we.
It's been moved and second by Councilmember Davis. Any other comments outside of what Councilmember Watts has said? Not hearing any. All those in favor of approving this item, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 21-509 is granted, passed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome.
Okay, item F, hold a public hearing, consider a request for a change in zoning for RLD residential low density, county and the highway overlay district to PRD planned residential district city for 13.83 acres on Van Sant Road in land lot 902, District 18, Section 2, Partial 18. Application by SA Land Group in care of Adam Baker. Mr. Anderson.
Ryan Anderson, 6701 Church Street. We have an updated list of proposed zoning conditions for approval. I would like to read them into the record.
Yes, please.
Okay. Number one, a mandatory homeowners association, a maximum of 124 townhome units developed with a density rate not to exceed 9 units per acre, provide at least 10% of total area for green space, border southeastern portion of subject property with above minimum code landscaping, provide fencing along contiguous borders. All units will be developed with a minimum of two-car garages not less than 400 square feet. Percentage of rental units capped at 10% of the total number of units. Stagger frontage of townhomes a minimum of 3 feet. Provide interconnectivity of internal streets on site plan. Utilize high-quality materials on both exterior and interior of units. Frontage of units shall be 100% brick, stone, or cementous fiber. Each side shall be at least 40% brick, stone, or cementous siding. Vinyl and metal siding prohibited. Target points of townhomes from a minimum of 250,000 and up. Identify mail kiosk and required parking on site plan. All townhome units required to be protected with automatic fire sprinkler system as required by code. Camera system throughout community. Developed with a pool amenity, and additional amenities should include trails and/or a dog park.
Mr. Anderson, one of the residents before mentioned a buffer. Was that something that was not added, or?
No, that would automatically be taken care of on the development plan process.
Okay.
So you would have to confirm to that.
All right, so I would like to open the floor for, to hold a public hearing in regards to item number 21-510. Is there anyone here that is in favor of, that would like to speak, who's in favor of this development? Okay. Is there anyone here that is in opposition? Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, sir. Go ahead. Mr. Adams.
Yeah, again, Adam
Mr.
Baker.
Baker.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Adam Baker, 95 Miller Farm Road, Taylorsville, Georgia, 30178. And again, forgive me for not potentially following proper protocols. However, is this the appropriate time to talk through some of those conditions that were
Stipulations.
discussed? Is that okay?
Yes, if you'll just give me one moment just to ask if there's anyone here that's in opposition who would like to speak. So there's no one in favor or opposition? Opposition?
In favor.
Would you like to come up and speak? Yes, there's a card you can fill out. Sure, come on up. Yes, ma'am. It's always nice to hear good words. If you have not completed a card, you can do so afterwards. When you can go ahead and make your comments. If you'll give your name and address, and then afterwards, just give your card over to the clerk to the right, to my right. Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you so much. I'm Parissa Valentina, representing 4160 Van Sant Road. It was formerly International Academy Montessori. We tried to have a tenant take over when my family retired from the business, the Montessori school, and it became Carter Academy, but we're reclaiming the property now. And we're in favor of this development because we were uncertain about the future of our property, if we should hold on to it or pass down the school. But with this development, there'll be plenty of families, and we're very excited about this project because they'll bring in, whether it's new children, we can turn it into a different, like a medical park or an emergency veterinary clinic if there aren't very many children, if there's older couples. So we have a lot of exciting new ideas for that property, and we hope to clean it up and revive it. So we hope you'll approve their project. We're all for it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Baker, if you would like to come and make some comments in regards to the stipulations.
Thank you again. Do you want me to state my name, do all the,
Yes, sir.
yes, you said 95
Go
Miller
ahead.
Farm Road, Taylorsville,
No,
Georgia?
you're-
Okay, all right,
We have
good.
it for the record.
You never know, so I just want to make sure we're
Thank you.
good. So Ryan was able to share some of the conditions that were discussed, And I just want to try to make sure I understand the conditions and then possibly even ask some questions regarding some of the conditions that were being proposed. And so originally on our concept plan that we shared with you all, it had 144 units, bless you. And at the Planning Commission, it was suggested that we reduce that by 20 units down to 124. And I think we're okay with the number of units. And where I wanted to kind of ask a couple of questions were in regards to a two-car garage, I think not less than 400 feet. Was that the number? So, okay, so is it possible for me to ask, questions to you all about that? Or I don't know if it goes to Ryan or whomever, but what are some of the thoughts of that? Or can I just talk through what I think? What would be best?
You can ask questions, and if
Okay.
there's something that Ryan needs to answer at this time or something we can answer, we can. Go ahead.
Is there any feedback from the council on the need for two-car garages? And if you don't want to answer, that's okay too, but I would love to at least talk through that with you if that's okay.
Was that your comment last week?
No.
Yes, ma'am. Madam
The two-car garage concern had come from a citizen or a couple of citizens, and then we receive a lot of emails versus people that come, to the meetings. And so that was a lot of concern from the residents in the community. And I did go to a subdivision off of Doris Road, and there were one-car garages, and what happens is one of the citizens stated, people will park on the street and both sides of the street will have cars if you only have one-car garage, because typically families have more than one car. So they were just saying after time, it will probably get congested if you did not have two-car garages.
That's fair.
Yes, sir.
Is it okay if I talk through that with you just
Yes,
a little
sir.
bit? So when you guys have a square footage minimum per the code of 1,500 square feet, and so if we were to essentially, let's just say double the dimensions of a garage. And so, and I've done a little bit of homework on it, but a single car garage, approximately 220, 230, 240 square feet, give or take. And so if you were to add an additional, call it 160 feet, you're essentially taking away 160 feet of heated square feet for the main level, forcing it to either be basically to be a bigger unit. And so, and I understand if the goal of that is to have a bigger unit, that makes sense. My concern is trying to make sure we have price points that are reasonable for the community. And so we've got there's a lot of communities across Metro Atlanta that show that a single car garage is highly desirable and works really well for lots of people. So who's buying a townhome? We're seeing lots of millennials who are not married yet, and they're single. We're seeing a lot of single moms, single dads. We're seeing retirees. And so there are some families, no doubt about it, with two cars, and lots of them have one car. And so I would ask that you consider maybe an option of some singles, some doubles, something like that, just so we can have options. And so I want to be able to hit a solid price point here. And I think that we can. And again, when I say a solid price point, if we're talking in the 200s, in my opinion, for a townhome, that's still that's not a cheap product. And then you guys have also put some materials on this too. You've also requested that it be a mandatory HOA. And so I think we're going to take the nice factor and hit that really well. And so especially, and this is no offense to anyone along Van Sant, but if you were to drive that corridor and look at it today, we just had the lady speak in support. I mean, she's had a vagrant at her place for a while and had a hard time trying to get transition in her property. And so the area really needs some revitalization. And we think that we're going to be the catalyst for that. And so, but I also want to be able to hit and meet the needs and demands of the community, the people that are wanting to buy, live here. The people that want townhomes, they want to be close to the interstate or close to highways so they can have access to things. They want to be close to jobs and close to shops and restaurants. And so we do that really well, I think. Another question for you and something to consider too. I know the rental cap, originally we were talking about 20%. If you want to do 10%, I think that's okay. I would just ask that you consider potentially 20 again. And the reason why, if you were to talk to someone trying to seek an FHA loan or a VA loan with the potential of having not the ability to purchase because of that, that's a concern from talking to some mortgage brokers that I've met with. We're okay to target 250. We think that we're going to target as much as we can get. Honestly, that's the goal. So we're good there. The fire sprinkler systems, we're okay with that. The only other, I think, concern that we had with with some of the conditions would be a pool amenity. And I would just ask the question, what's the thought behind a pool in this community? And if possible, can we talk through that as well?
Do we have a council member that specifically asked the question about the pool?
Was it you, Councilman Miller? Just to have an amenity outside of the dog park?
Absolutely, I did. On that side of town, you're, on the other side of I-20, you're a little bit further away from Boundary Waters or Jesse Davis Park that's about to be renovated to have a swimming pool. So you're just, you don't have a lot of amenities right there. And so I think it would just be a nice addition to the neighborhood.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that, and too, and I would love to, if possible, talk through that just a little bit. And so I wouldn't disagree with you. I think amenities are a great thing, and I'd be open to doing some other amenities too. And so my concern with a pool is, and we heard a little bit about pools earlier too, but pools on a community of this size, on 120 townhomes. And so again, if you're trying to hit a certain price point, we're talking potentially, and this may not sound like much to some people, but potentially $500, $600 more annually for your HOA, and an expense to a pool right now is typically, we develop amenities across Metro Atlanta, but it's really hard to do a pool without spending at least $400,000 when you throw in the appropriate fencing, the pool, bathrooms, all those types of things. And so when you pass that on and divide it by 120 units, and then you have to have, there's margins in there, you're talking, $5,000, $6,000 per unit that we're passing on to the consumer. Not only are we passing that on to the consumer, but the consumer's also having to maintain that. And so and townhomes of this size typically don't have a pool and cabana and clubhouse and those types of things. And so I would be open to talking through, is there potentially some other options that you would consider that you think would possibly work, like a pavilion with a fire pit, some kind of a gathering place, just something along those lines. I would ask that we, can potentially consider some other type of amenity here besides a pool. But
I would most certainly be open to that. I think that the rest of the council would as well. That was just one that was on my mind that I threw out at you the other night. It does make sense to me that when you have the smaller neighborhoods like that, that you're less likely to see a swimming pool, especially in this type of price point. So for sure, let's talk about some other options. I'm okay with that if you guys are.
I'm open for that. Madam Mayor?
Yes, ma'am. I was going to say to Mr. Baker, and you mentioned fire pit, so maybe fire pit or a gym or something. If they're young people, they may want to work out before they run around the area. So, and I did put in there walking trails, or that trail could be like I think the coach runs or rides bikes too, so something like that. And maybe a percentage of two-car garages, 40%, 50%?
Well, so one thing that we were thinking about is you kind of
But those are
talked
two
through.
separate issues. I know I'm mixing them up.
No, it's okay. I appreciate the dialogue, and so I just want to be honest too. Like, I really love how welcoming and good, how well you guys allow us to be able to talk through this stuff. So thank you for that.
You're
and
welcome.
so a potential suggestion would be a two-car garage on the end units. And so if you were to kind of look at the plan, if you had that on the ends, that allows us to be able to kind of spread that out, make it a little bit wider, and potentially provide some options like that. So I don't know if that would make sense or something would work for you guys. And so if you think about it, there's some, and again, this could, it's a concept plan, and so it could be, could potentially move around just a hair, but on the end units, potentially offering a two-car garage, if that was something you would consider, because that would give us a variety of units in there.
My architect over here, Mayor Pro Tem, is adding up the end units. I don't know how many there are.
I didn't count them either, and I can do that too.
But that,
I'm just trying to,
Yes, sir.
this is pretty fresh, and so we're just wanting to try to talk through this. So.
and you would consider maybe a gym, or is that expensive too?
Well, I mean,
I know
yes,
it is,
ma'am.
but
yeah,
better than a
everything's
pool.
expensive right now. Yes, ma'am, I would think so. And so I would prefer to, so passive amenities tend to be the most, reasonable is not a good word, best kind of consideration for a community like this at this size. And so pavilion, fire pit, gathering places, things like that. What we find too with gym memberships that right now, COVID has kind of changed the dynamic for gym memberships and things.
Yes.
And so you find a lot of people doing things at home and things
Yeah,
like that. And so
that's true.
that would be a little bit of a concern for us with that.
Okay.
But I think having the outdoor
Yeah.
spaces make that more, I guess, appealing to everyone, I guess, at this
Okay.
point. But we would, again, we're not saying no to amenities. We're saying, hey, can we talk through it and consider other options?
Yeah,
So-
for your price point. So if we put develop on number 15, strike the pool and put fire pit or some other gathering place would be good. And then the in units for, yes, sir, Mr. Dodson?
I was gonna make a suggestion. If you're gonna put conditions on the zone, you have to do it at the time you zone. So if you don't have the conditions clear as to what you want, you probably need to table this and get clarity so you can't decide the conditions.
And then change it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The only basically difference in that condition that was stated would be that end units of any building would be required to have a two-car garage. That would be the change to that. I think pool, you're saying being changed to fire pit.
Fire pits and, you mentioned walking trail?
And we
Oh,
have
it's on
walking
there,
trails
the
in
walking
there.
trail
and green
Yes,
space?
ma'am. We had the walking trails that were already in the, from what I recall.
Yes, Councilman Watts?
Well, I was just going along with what Mr. Dodson said. Mr. Dodson said, there's a couple gray areas here that we're kicking back and forth and negotiating, and maybe now's not the time for that. Maybe
clean it up.
he could respond with any, if we were to table it
Right.
for the next round, which is just, pretty soon, then we can find out everything of this list, everything that he's agreeing to, and anything, he said on the percentage of rental units, then he can find out from us what we're
Right.
solid on and we're not going to bend on and what
Yes,
we
sir.
will, but,
So that's
we're
December.
negotiating here, I don't know.
Mr. Baker,
We can table this one
Right.
to the 2nd and 6th, if that's your pleasure.
were there any other items that you have not been able to make a comment on?
No, I think we're okay. The only other one, I think, Mr. Miller, I know we talked briefly about the interconnectivity, and that, I don't know if that was you or not, but the interconnectivity, and we did talk to our engineer a little bit further about that, and one of the reasons why, he laid it out the way that he laid it out, and just for clarity, because I know not everyone heard that conversation, but we had, Mr. Miller had suggested that we have a second kind of creek crossing coming across there for connectivity into the community. And, and I told him too, so engineers are very function versus architects, and I'm not pointing any fingers, tend to be form over function. And so the thought behind that is that we, it's just a more of efficient layout too. And as we talked to it with him as well, creek crossings are significantly expensive, so that factors into that well as kind of some of his thought processes too. And then it also does impact green space as well. And so when you cut into that and you take that green space and carve a street into it, it does kind of limit some of the abilities that we would have for green space. And it was right where we kind of had put that dog park. But again, we can work through that. But I just wanted to at least throw that out there, that was some of the reasons why the decisions were made in that layout. So.
Am I looking at the current proposal now, and I think it's on our page 5, it does actually show one of the streets connected back, is that?
Yeah, that was a plan, that was one of the original plans that we had, so it shows it both, we can do it both ways, and so we have the ability to.
I did state that I'm fine, you don't have to connect every street, completely, you're gonna have some dead ends no matter what, but I think showing that one street connected back is certainly a good move in the right direction, so.
Okay, and again, in that scenario, it's compromising on green space. That's all I was going to let you know. And so we'd be open.
You have houses there anyway. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah, but I'm saying, if you delete it, well, originally in the other plan that we had it deleted out, and that became a park there. And so that was the difference. And so that other plan showed that deleted in a park in its place versus the townhomes there.
But I'm fine with that plan. If you're willing to go with that plan, where it connects back, I'm good with that. And you can if you want to add some more green space, you could probably make that one dead end shorter and get a little more.
Sure.
Get the green space back in there.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to point that out, and we had that conversation. I didn't want to not acknowledge that, so.
But I'm fine with that. I
Thank
guess
you.
basically your original plan.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You good, Mr. Baker?
I'm good if you are.
Okay.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
so,
One
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
one more.
Yes, ma'am.
Just to clarify then, because if you guys do open that up, I know that we had talked last week a little bit about the connectivity and the cul-de-sacs versus, being able, with the fire trucks and school buses and such. And I know you had said that you have these areas where they can turn around.
Yes, ma'am.
But my concern is that if we have more units that are a one-car garage versus two, you're going to have more cars in the street. That's just what it is, which means that then when you have school buses or fire trucks, whatever it may be coming through there, they're not going to be able to get through there. So is there a way to at least add like a cul-de-sac on some of these?
Well, so the
Or-
same, oh, sorry, go ahead, I
or-
apologize.
Or maybe just, it may just be me not understanding it very well, because in my mind, I just see these little driveway looking turns right here. And I just can't imagine how a school bus or a big fire truck could turn around if there are other cars in the street.
Yes,
So it
ma'am.
needs to be a mixture of cul-de-sacs and a connectivity
So,
to make everyone comfortable.
so to clarify, and I talked to Ms. Miller about this briefly last week, and I appreciate the comment and feedback too. And so the neighborhood, the plan has gone before the city staff, and the fire department has looked at this and said this is completely okay. And so the way that the International Fire Code states it is that within 150 feet of a dead end, there has to be a place for them to turn around. And so this meets that design with zero problems. And so we can't get a land disturbance permit from the city of Douglasville without being able to meet that code. And so it does meet that. And then I'd like to just take a second to comment too. I've got a couple of friends that are firefighters who drive these trucks, and I've asked to drive the trucks, and they won't let me. There's like some liability there. But if you watch these guys, they have these guys can drive they're unbelievable, even down with cars parked on the side of each other. Same thing with school buses. In a community like this, there would not likely be, in typical townhome communities, likely not lots of people riding the school bus. However, there will be. I'm sure there is, and I can't predict the number. I'd be lying if I couldn't. But typically, the school bus stop will not be at the very back. It's typically towards the front for multiple reasons, mainly safety. But and so again, it's very safe for turning around. And so cul-de-sacs. Also, you made a comment about cars parking on the street and things. Whether it's a straight street or a cul-de-sac street will not guarantee more or less cars parking in the street, if that makes sense. And so cars will park in the street. It's inevitable that will happen. But the streets are designed to be able to accommodate parking in the street. It's not illegal to park in the street, and they'll be able to safely drive and maneuver through. And so it's designed that it has to be. The city of Douglasville wouldn't permit the streets otherwise. And so we would prefer not to have cul-de-sacs. We'd prefer to have it the way that it's designed and that it was approved off on by the International Fire Code and the code. So anyways, just throwing that out there. So.
Okay, and we can put no parking signs up as a city for, talk to the chief about that, but putting no parking signs up on the street.
So, I'm sorry. So at this point, I'm sorry, Mr. Baker?
My business partner had one more good point. In some of the other cities that we work in too, he said we've been having good success where we'd be willing to put a condition up too that we put no parking signs if needed in certain places as well. Okay. If that was something that would help. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let me officially close our public hearing. We had lots of comments. Thank you. So at this point, because there were a lot of dialogue about the stipulations, and we want to make sure that we have everything that we have discussed in writing prior to our vote, then I would like to table this item until our next council meeting so that council members, mayor, if you have any comments, please make sure you email Ryan so that Mr. Baker can get them when we come back on December 2nd, and this item is before us, that we have everything in front of us.
Yes, ma'am. So I do have a motion to table item 21-510 to the meetings of December 2nd and 6th, 2021, from Vice Chair, Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Danley. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. All those in favor of tabling item F, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 21-510 is tabled to the meetings of December 2nd and 6th. We appreciate your patience.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, and, wow, that was long. Where are we?
It's the
Item-
same
Yes.
as item G. and it's
Item
the-
G.
Mhm.
All right. Item G, hold a public hearing and consider a request for change in zoning from PUD Planned Unit Development District Zone property to amend the special stipulations of zoning for 18.5 acres at the intersection of South Burnt Hickory Road and Midway Road in land lots 836, 837, 902, District 18, Section 2, Partial 2, application by SA Land Group, in care of Adam Baker. Mr. Anderson.
Ryan Anderson, 6701 Church Street. This is a similar situation. We have revised conditions of approval. I'd like to read them into the record. Number one is a mandatory homeowners association, a maximum of 92 units to be developed, 66 townhomes and 26 single-family detached residences. All units will be developed with a minimum of 2-car garages, not less than 400 square feet. Percentage of rental units capped at 10% of the total number of units. Stagger fronts on townhomes a minimum of 3 feet. Provide interconnectivity of internal streets on site plan. Utilize high-quality materials on both exterior and interior of units. Frontage of units shall be 100% brick, stone, or cementous fiber. Each side shall be at least 40% brick, stone, or cementous sidings. Vinyl and metal siding prohibited. Target price points of units from a minimum of $250,000 for townhomes and a starting price point of at least $325,000 for single-family detached residences. Identify mail kiosks and required parking on site plan. All townhome units required to be protected with automatic fire sprinkler system as required by code. Camera system throughout the community, developed with amenities such as trails and a dog park.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. So we have advertised to have a public hearing. This is the same item, so I'd like to open the floor now for our public hearing. If there's anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this item, if it's something different, please come up and state your name and address for the record. Okay, if not, do we have anyone here who's in opposition? Okay, Madam Mayor, I see none. I'd like to officially close our public hearing. I'd like to make a motion. This is the item that goes with item F is to table item 21-511.
Thank you so much, Madam Vice Chair. We have a motion to table item 21-511 to the meetings of December 2nd and 6th, 2021. Do we have any, may I have a second, please? If you're amenable to that. Thank you so much, Councilman Davis. It's been properly moved in second to table item G to the meetings of December 2nd and 6th. Do we have any additional comments or questions? As the Vice Chair has said, please send in your concerns. We've heard deliberation on the previous item. There's not a pool that is attached to this one, but if we could just work with what Mr. Baker has said to us about the item prior to this to try to make accommodations, we'll do that, and I'll accept comments at this time. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Were you able to determine,
Mr. Baker.
Mr. Baker, were you able to determine without a doubt that you could not align the entrance with Midway Road?
Great question. So we went back and looked at that, and actually it's a line of sight issue, and it's a safety issue. And so because of the curve that's in the road there, the distance, and I can't remember the exact distance that's needed, but it's a safety and line of sight issue is why the two roads weren't lined up, because that would naturally make sense if you could.
Can you refresh my memory? Is there a stop sign there currently or no? I mean, I assume there's one on Midway side. Is there a
There's
stop?
on Midway, yes, sir.
Yeah, but there's no stop sign on Burnt Hickory though at that point?
There's nothing there to,
Okay.
right, no, sir.
I assume that were you all intending to include a decel lane there?
That was one of the recommendations in the traffic study.
Okay. Okay.
That was the only point of mitigation that was suggested.
And then one thing to add, there probably would be a warning that there is an entrance to a development there on that curve, because if you say it's a dangerous curve, there probably should be signage there warning people about the entrance coming up.
That's a great idea. I mean, we're the city, it's a city street, and so we'll abide by anything the city wants us to do regarding that.
Okay, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, please send those comments to our vice chair, so that we'll have them for the record. Any other comments?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Chair. The line of sight issue, so it's a safety issue, not lining it up, but it would seem to me that if you put turn that into a three-way stop,
Then that'll kind of.
would that help that issue?
So again,
It's up to the city, whatever
yeah,
we want.
I didn't stay at the Holiday Inn last night. I'm not the guy to ask that question to, but it makes a ton of sense to me. And so, but I would, on that, I would have to punt to a traffic engineer and defer to the city's, street department, road and, the road and street department to say, hey, what do you think makes sense here? And we would be, obviously very open to that. We have zero incentive for people to come flying by and tearing down there. We want it to be as safe as possible. And again, just to reiterate too, we did have a traffic study. Traffic engineers did look at that, and they only made one point of mitigation, which we discussed.
Decel, so we need to talk with public safety. You're the public safety chair, Councilman Watts, so if you talk with the chief, we'll get it all together when you send recommendations in to the vice chair.
I'm vice chair.
Oh, who's the? That's Councilman Davis. I apologize. Councilman Davis, you're the public safety chair. That's the vice chair. So if you can talk, we can try to get that remedied to control traffic best we can, to have it staggered if it's a three-way stop sign. But any recommendations that you and the chief have will be good. But we make certain we have all of that in before December 2nd. So everyone has an opportunity to look at everything, and when we come back to make any of the requirements or proposed conditions, that they'll be in time. We don't have to table again.
Madam Mayor, I was
Yes,
just
sir.
going to say, the early concern I heard as we were looking at this last week was the entrance and exit to this proposed development
Yes, sir.
was not lined up with Midway. So it would seem to me that if it's a line of sight, that's an easy thing. I mean,
Fix.
we put up stop signs all over the place. You just leave my subdivision and go right or left, and you're going to hit 4 stop signs before you
Right.
get anywhere. So if that is an issue, it'd be something worth looking at as far as I'm concerned. Also, before our next meeting, before we consider this, are we going to have in front of us this list that
Yes.
the developers have agreed to?
We should work that out.
And it'll all be worked out?
Yes,
before-
sir.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had, Madam Vice Chair.
I know, I see Mr. Aaron around. He's interested in taking copious notes, getting it together. Any other comments?
Nope.
Okay, well, it's been properly moved in second to table item G to the meetings of the 2nd and 6th. Do we have any additional comments or questions? Any more deliberation as relates to this item from council members?
I just want to say we appreciate the developer
Yes, sir.
being as cooperative as he has.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All of those in favor of tabling item G, which is 21-511, to the meetings of December 2nd and 6th, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. This item is unanimously approved to be tabled to the meetings of the 2nd and 6th. Now, Madam Vice Chair, we'll go back to our item that we had earlier, which was item D, 21-507. And if it's your pleasure, as I turn this agenda item over to you for your committee, if we could have legal make a
Sure.
response.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Ms. Woodward.
Our UDO allows a tabling of item no more than twice, and cannot exceed a cumulative period of 45 days. We did the calculations, and the 45th day from the first tabling would have fall on December the 16th.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Woodward. Let me open this, I'm sorry. All right. So we're going back to item D. And thank you, Ms. Woodward, again for your comment. Mr. Blacksley, am I saying that correctly? Blakesley, I'm sorry.
Blakesley?
Sorry, thank you. Chad Swain.
Swain.
1029
Oh, I
Chestatee Point,
apologize.
Dawsonville, Georgia. Yeah, Addison Blakeslee is the surveyor of record.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
ma'am.
I'm not sure if you're aware, But it's American Home Rentals, correct?
American Homes for Rent, yes.
For rent.
AMH Development is the development and construction arm for American Homes for Rent. So we develop the property, build the houses, and then it's turned over to the property management side of American Homes for Rent.
Okay. Do we have any other comments from our mayor and council? No? Okay. I'm not sure if you're aware of this. I was checking on the Secretary of State's office, and under American Homes for Rent, all of the business license in the Secretary of State's office are dissolved. Are you aware of that? Okay. But at any rate, I just wanted to give you that information. You can look it up. It's the Georgia Secretary of State's office. So
Okay.
that it says all of the American Home Rentals. It could be a different one, but that was under that name. Just wanted to give you the information. But I'd like to just go back to what I stated earlier. Although it has been stated that your final plat doesn't have anything to do with, in your opinion, has anything to do with what we're discussing tonight as far as civil, yes?
If I can make one thing clear, I guess to phrase it properly is, I don't want you to think that we're only wanting to clean up the subdivision, we're only wanting to clean up the amenity area, we're only wanting to deal with the residents and change property management because we want a final plat recorded. It was brought to our attention here, but that's not our intent. That's like, our intent is to do all this on behalf of the community itself. It needs to be, I would like for those two items to be separated though, because the final plat is separate of what we want to do within Chicago Park.
Mm-hmm.
We made an attempt already. We've already done things. Yeah, we've hit a rough patch of road that has been, alerted to us here, but it's separate. I mean, it doesn't benefit us to have an amenity that residents can't utilize, right? It doesn't benefit us to have, riffraff or things like that going on within the community. So I don't want you to feel, and I hope I've presented that, I'm not trying to promise a lot of things and do a lot of things just to get a plat recorded. We want to do the things proper and correct for the community. That's why I hope you understand, I'm not up here trying to promise a bunch of things I can't do, right?
Sure.
And it takes time to do the things necessary to get it right back on track.
Correct. Are you finished?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'll finish. I understand that. So it is within our rights that we can table this. So I make a motion, Madam Mayor, that we table this item until December 2nd. I would like to see, you said that you were going to have a lawn care to do lawn by Friday. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So that's one thing that's done. So it has been too many times that I have sat here, and this is not to you directly, and we have made votes and gone forward. And it's unfortunate that things have not been done. I believe you. I really believe that you're going to do this. And then also, you stated that the residents can have your number. There's no property manager in place at this time until December 20th. With that being said, and you and I can talk afterwards, but I'd like to make a motion that we table this item until December 2nd and the 6th.
Thank you so much, Madam Vice Chair. I have a motion to table item 21-507 to the meetings of December 2nd and 6th. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you so much, Councilman Davis. It's been properly moved and second to table item 21-507 to the meetings of the 2nd and 6th. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, it's unanimous. And those opposed, raise your hand as well. It's been unanimously approved to table item 21-507 to the meetings of December 2nd and 6th. And we will see you again at that time. Mr. Sweeney.
And Madam Mayor, if I can also make a comment, we can discuss afterwards, but you and I can talk. I will be more than happy to meet with you and walk the property. It's in our ward. I have no problem doing that with you and the residents.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I just want to say that I'm willing to do that.
Okay.
And that'll
Yes,
help, whatever helps to come to a happy median for both you and the residents. I'll be glad to do that.
And again, I'm on the side of the residents.
Absolutely.
I'm not
It's
quite
nothing
sure. I feel like this is not going
No,
in the
no,
right
I'm,
direction.
yeah, but I'm
with the
saying,
residents on
we can,
this.
yeah, so
So-
let's do that afterwards, but thank you for your time.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Thank you. Thank you
All
for your
right.
patience. We appreciate it. So we'll move on now, since we are finished with all of those issues and concerns. Do you have any other items, Madam Vice Chair?
No, ma'am. That's all. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. We'll move on then to Public Improvement and Beautification Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Nicole Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business this evening.
Thank you, ma'am. Public Relations, I'll ask the Mayor Pro Tem, please, to take that committee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's no business at this time under the Public Relations Committee.
Thank you, sir. Public Safety Committee, Councilmember Samuel Davis.
No business at this time, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman Davis. Recreation, Culture, and Tourism Committee, chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight in recreation, culture, and tourism.
Thank you so much, Councilman Watts. Technology Committee, chaired by Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business under the Technology Committee at this time.
Thank you, sir. Transportation Committee, chaired by Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Burdanley.
No business under transportation tonight, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Do we have any other business to come before committee, council members tonight for our regular meeting? From the elected officials? I don't see any. Okay, we'll move on then to updates from city staff. Our city attorney, Mr. Joel Dotson.
No business, Madam.
Thank you, sir. Our staff attorney, Ms. Lynn Woodward.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Our chief of police, Chief Sparks.
No business.
Thank you so much, Chief Sparks. Our city manager, Marcia Hampton.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Are you serious?
Got nothing.
It's a miracle. Okay, comments from delegates, citizens and delegates. If there are some citizens in the audience and you'd like to speak to us, please come forward, give us your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes to speak to us about any business or potential business germane to the city of Douglasville.
I have 2 issues.
Yes, ma'am.
This is my first time, so I'm a little nervous.
Oh, you're fine. We won't bite. Just take
Okay.
your time.
My name is Carol Petway Scarborough. I live on 8375 Hollis Street.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so I want to commend you guys, asking a lot of questions. I remember Chris Watts' coach said that was one of his goals, to ask a lot of questions. So that was very helpful. But my concern is with, let me see, sorry.
You're fine.
With Addison, sorry. And I believe he's of good character, but like you guys said, he does have a lot of things I feel that am I doing this right? That action needs to be taking place. And my concern is that he hasn't really met with a new property. Am I doing wrong?
No, I don't want it to be a personal attack. So if you don't point to the developer,
Okay.
just talk to me.
Okay,
and
well,
okay.
well, I'm concerned, my personal concern.
Yes, ma'am.
As a person who worked with the community.
Yes.
Is it important for the new property manager, whoever, if they're not for them to actually meet.
Yes, ma'am.
With the community, so they can get some things done.
Yes.
Because I remember last meeting, that was a problem. They were not able to get in touch with some people.
Yeah.
And,
Bless you.
and that's also important for me, for the community.
Yes, ma'am.
Also, it's important, what's the other thing? Also, it's important that they need to be able to get in contact with anybody. And also my thing is that I think they should, I think meeting with the residents, meeting with the residents, with the builder is an ideal thing.
Yes.
Because if that doesn't take place, then it can be, I call emotional pain, and you can't enjoy your home.
Yes, ma'am.
So, so those are things that I was concerned with. And I'm glad you tabled the information, because they allow him, which is really great, to show us even more of how he's with the community.
Yes.
Which I feel that he really is. But tabling those things give him the opportunity to show action, and I'm glad he was open to that.
Yes, ma'am.
In my other situation, I may not be doing everything, is with, Adam Baker, or do I tell you the number?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sorry, sir. I think DEFG is all his stuff. I feel his community, would work with the community, but I'm concerned about the traffic signs. I'm concerned about having amenities, because the townhomes I know, they always had a pool. Some kind of pool to help or amenities. So that, because like she said, Miller, the water pool and all that stuff is nowhere to be near. And Midway, which I often get lost, has a lot of traffic. And that's not really good for the community to get out to, because 20 is really, really bad, and it can cause a lot of stress, I feel, for the community. And as far as anybody, I think the code needs to be, even though code enforcement is code, but I think you guys should also make sure that they follow through, even though it's code, that you'll be open to that. And safety, as working with the community, is absolutely important. Because the chief always said it's important so we can protect our community. And if we don't have safety, then that can be detrimental to community. My main issue is the little kids, in conclusion, school bus. If the school bus cannot get into the community to go around, or whatever the case is, it can be a problem, because most of the kids, most of the people who drive will not be paying attention. And then speed bumps may be a consideration. But most people in today's society live with their parents, they come back home, and it's absolutely, everyone has 2 cars. I have 2 cars, my dad has 2 cars, so people do have a lot of cars. And I feel that extending the acres in, I forgot what letter, extending the acres would not be a good idea, simply because he will allow more room to allow more, he'll allow more room for space for people to enjoy their townhomes. So I commend that they listen, and I commend that you guys were really open, but I need for my city council to help me. This is my first time getting involved. The chief always told me to get involved.
Yes, ma'am.
So
well, I would
that's
say,
what I'm doing. So
thank you
I'm
so
sorry
much.
if I,
Well, stand up, come back to the podium for a second. I'm gonna tell you something. You're fine. Just tell your mom we said hello.
Okay.
Former member Bonnie Kemp, the former council member that we said hello, and Mayor Pro Tem used to be. But in the future, I know this is your first time.
Yes.
So when the topic comes up for the zoning hearing, just come out at that time so you can talk about the topic then, because you know not that I have a senior moment, but I might forget, because we're going to something else. So when the issue comes for the Chicago Park, then you bring your concerns if it for or in opposition or in favor at that time, and then the other issue with Van Zant. So we'll remember and keep everything under the same categories.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
But you did, it was good. Don't worry, you're fine. We appreciate you coming forward.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to just make a comment to Carol. Miss Carol, you did really great. I know you were nervous, but you did really good. So just to be able to come up and speak in front of the mayor and council was nervous, but you did great. And continue to send us messages and emails. You did really well. I'm proud of you.
I know she's the writer. She didn't come in public. Any other comments from citizens and delegates? You can come forward. Yes, ma'am. Give us your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Shakina Mincy. I reside at 8144 Willowbank Way in
Your
Chicago
last name
Park.
again? I'm
Mincy.
sorry. Okay, thank you.
A few things I wanted to make a correction on that was spoken about earlier about Chicago Park. The rental properties that are owned by American Homes for Rent, in their lease agreement, the renters are responsible for their own property landscaping. Their HOA fees are not in their lease. They don't pay those fees. Those fees are paid according to the renters by the company American Homes for Rent. Also, another thing I wanted to bring up, I would say for this particular item, I know it's been tabled, for the item to be voted against and allow another company to come in who build homes, to come in and build homes for sale for residents, so that it's not overpopulated, where you do have a medium of renters and a medium of homeowners. I think he said they have about 90, 95 properties that they're in completion of now renovation, building right now. The additional properties that they're asking for this new application, why not allow someone else to come in who wants to build those homes for sale? That gives the homeowners, that gives the renters there an equal opportunity. So that way, the civil suits that you guys don't have an issue, nothing to bring to the table, we can hash those out if we have an even number where everybody has a vote. That's one thing. The second thing I wanted to talk about was the issues with the address. When we first met American Homes for Rent was about a few years ago, a year after they came in, they did know about the retention pond in front of the subdivision because we spoke about it at the meeting. The issues in the area with the pool, they did know about it because code enforcement came out and was going to shut the pool down. The pool has been shut down several times over the years since they've owned the property, them and previous management, because of, as they say, leaking issues, but none of that gets addressed when we get to the meeting. So those were incorrect as well. I just wanted to be sure you guys knew that. He said earlier that the company had no recollection of those issues prior to taking on the property. That is also incorrect. If we're still getting incorrect information from American Homes for Rent and they've had this property for a few years, how do we know that just because they receive or do the little few things that you're asking to do, we're not going to still get the same thing? Since the last meeting on the 16th, I think, we did not know that the management company was fired until the last meeting. I did not know, none of us knew or received an email. We did not receive a letter of any knowledge that there was a new management company coming in. I overheard that on the live stream from YouTube, watching the meeting today. So again, I do ask that you vote no, to extend this application and allow someone else to come in who can at least give us a bit more honesty and transparency in building properties and building homes in our community, because we're here long term, not short term. We have no issue with renters who want to come in and who want to rent. Home ownership is not for everyone, but for those of us who are there, we take pride in what we own and would appreciate if you would oppose this last application for this last process to let someone else come in and take over and give us a chance to take over our own HOA. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We aren't going to debate whether information is true or false. We'll just take all that information into consideration, but it's not our purview to do anything about civil matters. So we're just here to vote on zoning issues. So the civil issues are, something that has to be taken up between the residents and the developer or HOA members. We hear you and we empathize with you, but we can't make determinations on civil issues. Okay, any other comments from citizens or delegates? Oh, yes, ma'am. Please come forward and give us your name and address for the record and fill out a form. Yes. And hopefully this is not a zoning matter. Okay.
Kimber Albert, 8130 Brookbend Drive.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
So basically, it's about more about the distrust with the HOA, even with American Homes. I know he's new.
Well, you can just
Can you hear
address
me?
me. Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
I'm
I
sorry.
can't hear you and
Oh, okay.
make your comments to me, please.
So I'm
don't
sorry,
talk
I
to the developer.
apologize. So my thing is basically still like I said, the distrust from the HOA. We don't get to know what's going on. And I know he said they're gonna come in and do better. So we would like to see that happen before you guys decide to give the vote, to approve. That'll be wonderful, because a lot of things we have complained about to multiples. I've been there now probably about 10 years for multiple HOAs, people that we've had, and nothing gets done. So I know they're coming in now to do something different, so maybe we'll be able to see a change, because that hasn't happened. It's always something ongoing, and majority of the time, it's the same issues ongoing. So nothing has changed. So it would be nice to have a refreshing person to come in and do what they said they're going to do actually, and see results. So that's basically all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate your comments. Any other comments from citizens or delegates? Try to put those in the category of when we have those issues for zoning and public hearings. All right, any other comments? If not, then without having any other business, this meeting is adjourned.